This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
That was just a portion of Ronald Reagan's 1964 speech, A Time for Choosing. It was delivered on behalf of Barry Goldwater, and while Barry Goldwater did not win the presidency, Ronald Reagan, of course, eventually won 2 terms. And our next guest says that Reagan's rise can be attributed not only to that 1964 speech, not only to his election as governor of California in 1966, but his halting initial campaign for the presidency in 1968. Joining us now via FaceTime, Gene Kopelson, author of the new book, Reagan's 1968 Dress Rehearsal, Ike, RFK, and Reagan's Emergence as a World Statesman. Gene, thanks for your time tonight on Newsmax Prime. Thinking back to the late, great 1968, I was 10 years old. I remember that nascent Reagan presidential effort. I know that some of the Republican governors, especially Louis Nunn of Kentucky, was initially all in for Reagan, but that kind of went away in Miami Beach. Give us a little bit on that campaign in '68 and how it helped to shape Reagan's political aspirations.
The few historians who've discussed Reagan's first run for the presidency do in fact just concentrate on that Miami Beach convention, those few days in August of 1968, and have said it was a wasted effort, it was foolish for Reagan to have done it. However, my research indicates that it was a much more planned, detailed effort that began just as he was governor-elect in November of 1966. It was a methodically planned campaign, and basically, virtually every weekend, Governor Reagan left Sacramento, flew across the country seeking delegates under the guise of doing party fundraising, which he was very successful at. But in each of those visits, he was establishing his grassroots activists base for getting delegates so that he could become the nominee in 1968.
It didn't work in '68, but it came later on. Meantime, again, historians concentrate on Ike and Dick, on Dwight Eisenhower and Richard Nixon, General Eisenhower's running mate, President Eisenhower's running mate in '52 and '56. And yet you say there was a hidden mentor-protege relationship between Ike and Reagan. Tell us about that relationship and what kind of influence did that have on Reagan's years as president?
There's a lot to discuss in your question. Let me try to be brief. The mentorship relationship began when Reagan was deciding to enter politics. Through an intermediary, a golf buddy between the two men, Eisenhower sent Reagan a detailed, multi-point, step-by-step plan advising and mentoring Ronald Reagan on how to enter politics. He then advised him on how to help run his primary campaign for the governorship of California, his general election campaign. He specifically helped Reagan fight false charges of anti-Semitism. And Ike even advised actor Ronald Reagan, a distinguished speaker, on speaking techniques.
Robert Kennedy is known as the supreme villain in Ronald Reagan's life. Why is that? Was RFK really after Reagan in terms of Death Valley days and, well, later Reagan's association with General Electric? 30 seconds.
Yes, there are multiple instances of RFK going after Ronald Reagan. He dragged him over the coals in the Screen Actors Guild MCA federal grand jury, but RFK found nothing. Reagan was exonerated, but then behind the scenes, RFK arranged for the IRS to audit 10 years of the Reagan's taxes. And as Michael Reagan has related, it was RFK who behind the scenes got Reagan's show canceled.
And it will make for fascinating reading. I know I'm looking forward to it. Gene Kopelson, author of the book, Reagan's 1968 Dress Rehearsal, Ike, RFK, and Reagan's Emergence as a World Statesman. Gene, we thank you for your time.
Thank you.